and 8 days, is it? Let me check. It is going by so fast, and I just put it up, but I have to check here. Let's see if it loaded. I hope you can hear me. And we are burning the midnight oil and then some. Okay. Yeah, 2,106. I was right.
I hope you can hear me.
Okay. So today is May 10th, 2026, 2,106 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, on the borderland, because he was a whistleblower and he was taken downstairs to the basement room of his barracks room on Fort Bliss, and his life was taken from him because that basement room was the arms room. It is a soundproof room, and this was an organized operation. This was a cartel operation, cartel tied, absolutely infiltrated into our military, and paying off different leadership. Absolutely has been going on since Iran-Contra, really. It's been going on since Iran-Contra, and it's evolved. It's evolved all the trafficking and weapons for drugs, um, and evolved into human trafficking, and also, of course, 500,000 children were trafficked through Fort Bliss, and um, fuel theft, and it then, of course, they didn't stop there, went into all kinds of fraud, including the organ harvesting, including VA benefits fraud. That's been documented, not by me, that's been documented. And, just through our 6 years of everyday investigating, and all of the amazing people who have shared information with us, and documents and videos and audios and everything. Um, we even from the FBI office there in El Paso, they have absolutely confirmed the brutal murder of our son. And so, this is just, and there, and, right. I mean, that's just jaw dropping, right? Jaw dropping. Because, of course, officially, that's all established. So, um, but we're still fighting for his remains. And he was absolutely whistleblowing and a witness not only to all the criminal trafficking and the cartel infiltration, but our military's involvement in the Walmart mass shooting. That is really important, and that's why the recent discovery that Miguel Carzoli, El Paso Police Department officer Miguel Carzoli, is the family of Sam Medrano, the judge in the Walmart mass shooting, and Bernadette Medrano, who works in the courthouse, in charge of the wheel, right? The assignments of the judges. So the conflicts of interests are huge, and the evidence keeps piling up and piling up. It's as high as Mount Everest right now. I mean, maybe that's a little over exaggeration, but it's high. The evidence is incredible. It's a friend of ours, not about a year ago, maybe it's been a little bit longer, said we have a robust amount of evidence. I really like that. That how that all came out. And you don't want to laugh about it because this is so horrific, you know. But you have to keep your emotions in check to stay very focused to to keep working, to keep filing, to get accountability, and to get Richard's remains. And we have really, it's looking very, very promising. And just when it's looking so good, right? It's looking very good to uh, try Maru Campos for treason in Mexico. That's very important because her administration absolutely obstructed justice in our son's case, because our son's case and our son's body trafficking is into Mexico is international. This whole case is international. And so we know that her administration obstructed justice in our son's case. And so for her to rightfully be accused of treason when it comes to the deaths of these two CIA agents and the two uh, AEI agents. Okay, so this was, Mexican and American agents here that were killed, that were ambushed. How do we know that they were ambushed? Because I think we're one of the very, very, very few people that are reporting that it was an ambush. We were one of the very few people reporting that they were agents, right? First the DEA agents and then CIA agents when more information came out, but they were just like, oh, these are embassy workers. Cesar Hargi said, oh, they're just embassy workers, I mean, the lies that are coming out of this pan party are just uh, not acceptable. Not acceptable at all. Are any lies acceptable? Um, but these particular, when you're talking about the deaths of two CIA agents and the two AEI agents in an ambush, when they were really this whole unauthorized operation, you have to understand this is all for the elections going forward. And the evidence indicates strongly that this was a photo op, okay? That the cartel was warned. They went there to take the photos. There was nobody there. There was nobody arrested, you know. So it wasn't, and that kind of fentanyl laboratory, you wouldn't be able to get close to it without shots being fired, right? Without, arrests being made and a much bigger operation than what they had. Okay. And nothing makes sense out of it except for that they were warned that they needed to be seen as tough on crime because, of course, are very weak on crime, like so many, including the church. I like that President Trump said that about the church, that the church is weak on crime. And that means that we need to get tough on crime, don't we? We need to get tough on crime. And we believe that because of the evidence indicates that this was a photo op for a tough on crimes news story that because there's just no evidence of any true raid, right? There's no evidence of any true raid. What there is an ambush, an ambush. So somebody did not appreciate being used as a backscreen, right, for a photo op, a landscape or, somebody didn't. Do we know who ambushed them? Who, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? That's the $1 million question, because we know that this was the PAN party that conducted this unauthorized operation. We know that President Sheinbaum has absolutely said that she was not involved in it at all, and that that is illegal, that this is treason, because it involved a foreign, United States is foreign to Mexico, a foreign country intelligence agency, CIA, that were not invited, that were not authorized to participate even in a photo op, okay? Even in a photo op of a fake um, whatever they were doing down there, because where's the evidence that it was a true raid? I just don't see any, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe other people have seen the arrests of all the people that were working that humongous lab, that huge lab, who was protecting it, who was doing the perimeter, um, watch of that lab. You're talking about billions and billions of dollars worth of, that factory or whatever laboratory that you want to call it. So, there would be a perimeter of security, and there would be a lot of workers, and there would be absolutely a much bigger type of raid into that laboratory. The PAN party is absolutely responsible for the deaths of those agents, and they now have been exposed uh, because they are narco, they are cartel. The PAN party is absolutely cartel. They are the El Chapo arm of the Sinaloa cartel. It was uh, two, right, El Chapo and El Mayo, that started the Sinaloa cartel. So you have two arms, the El Chapo arm and the El Mayo arm, and Maru Campos was the El Chapo arm of that were under the thumb of the El Paso cartel, along with the CJNG and the Juarez cartel, and very clear that that gave them a sense of like the Superman um, complex or something. Like they were invincible, right? That they were invincible. They had the El Chapo cartel, they had the CJNG cartel, they had the Juarez cartel, of course, La Linea, this Mormon faction of the colonies there from Nova Casagrandes area, the colony, Juarez colony, Dublin, you know, that they were invincible, that they had this because they had the dual citizens, they which really has really changed my mind about dual citizenry. That they had the double agents like Alejandro de la Vega working in the Texas Governor Abbott's administration, having access into that administration, absolutely swearing her oath to the Constitution of the United States, while simultaneously serving on the Chihuahuan governor's administration, swearing allegiance to Mexican sovereignty, and serving on the commissions or the committees of law enforcement and intelligence committee, also on the commission, which her position was the economic position, like economic development, which is absolutely vital to getting this tower, this mini Pentagon up for Maru Campos, right? Really, which was like the El Paso cartel, and their alliances. So this was not just them and their corruption. This was not that. I mean, not only that, it was corruption, right? It is corruption, but it's not only that. It is regime change in a very sneaky, stealthy way. It is the taking over of countries of Mexico and the United States through infiltration, through deception, through impersonation. I mean, they took oaths, but they meant none of it. It didn't mean anything to them. They operate as impersonators when they get into their roles. They absolutely operate in deception, and they operate in criminality. They don't abide by the laws that they swear to uphold, for the sovereignty that they swear to serve and uphold. They don't. This is deception. And this is this Mormon faction, El Paso cartel, billionaire philanthropist, narco philanthropist agenda. It is not for America. It's not for Mexico. And so it is absolutely what Maru Campos did is absolutely treason. There's no other word for it. There's no other word for it. When you are accessing federal agents and conducting federal operations without the authority of Mexico City, of Washington, D.C., then you are a usurper. You are treasonous. And we see that all over El Paso, right? The usurpation. We have judges in the El Paso Magistrate Court that are absolutely impersonators, because that court, every judge under the Texas Constitution needs to be elected to be legal, because that court in 2015 received full countywide jurisdiction. And under the Texas Constitution that they swear to uphold too, right? Swear to uphold, yet their own position is a fraud, because the Texas Constitution says if your court has that much power over the entire county, if it has county-wide jurisdiction, then the judges sitting on that court must be elected by the people. Not one that I know of, not one of those judges has been elected. It's a fraud. It's impersonation. It's deception. It's infiltration. And the same thing with James Bonneau Montoya and Bill Hicks before him. It's deception. They did not follow the steps, the steps um to to be the DA. You can be elected or you can be appointed, but then you have steps to take that seat, right? To install properly. That's what they call it, to install properly. So just because you won the vote or you received an appointment doesn't mean that that's the end of it. That's really the beginning of it. Then you have to install properly into that position. That means, and it's not that hard, you have to sign according to the Texas Constitution. You have to sign an anti-bribe statement of officer to say that you received the appointment or you were duly elected by your own merits without taking a bribe, or a quid pro quo, right? This is the problem with Cesar Haragi in Mexico. He had a lot of quid pro quos, and that's why the media was saying when he left office, he's not going to be able to fulfill his quid pro quos. And so he is going to have to fear the cartels because the cartels paid him a lot of money and he was supposed to block cases. Now, that's not me saying it, that's Mexican media. The Mexican media gets the quid pro quo. But in the United States, when you are a prosecutor, you have to sign an anti-bribe statement of officer before you take the oath of office. It's not after, it's before. And in the Texas Constitution, you can look it up. It specifically says before you take your oath of office. And it's pretty simple. And then you have to fill out the forms properly, your statement of officer, which is the anti-bribe statement, and the oath of office. And then you take your oath of office and voila, you are duly installed in that office. It's not hard, but neither Bill Hicks nor James Montoya did it. They're both usurpers. They're both frauds. They're both deceivers. They operate in deception. Why? Because legally, they don't want to say they didn't take a bribe. Because even Bill Hicks admitted that he was under a quid pro quo with Governor Abbott. And in an article. So, and we absolutely know that James Montoya ran on the death penalty for Patrick Crusius. And yet, look at that case. It's absolutely shameful. The corruption under Judge Sam Medrano. As they say in El Paso, the most corrupt El Paso judge in El Paso history, right? So it is really, really the topic then for today is Lilly Téllez. Téllez, I hope I'm saying it right. Lilly Téllez, Téllez, sorry, Lilly Téllez. Lilly Téllez is a senator from Mexico. And guess what? This deceiver, she's pan party. So that means she is the El Chapo arm of the Sinaloa cartel. All right. That means she's in alliance with the El Paso cartel, with the CJNG cartel, with the Juarez cartel. That she is, in alliance with Maru Campos and um and the party that got 2 CIA agents and 2 AEI agents killed. Okay? Very clear. So, and of course, the obstruction of a U.S. Army's whistleblower soldier, Richard Halliday. And there's more. There's so much more. And what is, what happened that really is so concerning to us is that she went to Orange County, California. I don't know who invited her. Who set that all up? Because she went over there on a tourist visa. Okay. So what she did is very illegal, y'all. Um, it it might just be treason also. So she might be joining Maru Campos and treason because she went to the United States. Can you imagine? Can you imagine someone from the United States going and to a party function or a group like the Lincoln Club, and targeting President Trump's followers and lobbying? I mean, she'd have to register as a lobbyist, right? But what she did, this Lilly Téllez, uh, I'll get it, um, is lobby against President Sheinbaum. She went to the United States to lobby against President Sheinbaum, that President Trump would take action against President Sheinbaum. Can you believe that? What a witch! What a witch! And then she projected everything that Maru Campos has done wrong or is treasonous that caused the deaths of these two CIA agents and the AEI agents. She projected those onto President Sheinbaum because President Sheinbaum is investigating her party and Maru Campos, of course, for those exact criminal acts that she was projecting. It's the same El Paso cartel playbook. It's the same cartel playbook. When you listen to um, Mr. Racist, really racist, Ernest Christopher Grant. I mean, his words after the Walmart mass shooting were so racist, and he was projecting that onto a false narrative against President Trump, targeting President Trump in favor of who came to visit him, Beto O'Rourke, who was running for president. So this is not only corruption, but this is regime change in a very sneaky, deceptive infiltration, usurpation, um, y- you know, to gain control of both, not just Mexico, but Mexico and the United States. Because these are double agents. These are dual citizen double agents that is leading this treasonous, deceptive. Um, I don't want to even call it an invasion, even though they allowed an invasion. It's an infiltration. It's an infiltration. So that's very clear that they wanted control of both Mexico and the United States because then they can control the departments of justice, the law enforcement, the intelligence agencies. That's why they spent so much money and of course put taxpayers on uh, on the end to pay for all this. For this $1.27 billion surveillance network, right? Which includes the tower, the AI tower, to then sort out all this surveillance data. And of course, our suspicion, educated suspicion in this, is this Pegasus software, along with, the Pegasus software allows for the surveillance, and then the AI sorts it, makes the data very usable. And so this is, in order to keep the Iran Contra developed, it was developed over decades. evolved over decades. Trafficking pipeline, the Iran-Contra trafficking pipeline, because we know even now that the cartel in Mexico have drones that can shoot missiles. And those drones, absolutely, our reports are that uh, that all the suspicion is on Iran giving them these drones because Iran was flooding Central America with their drones because they have drone technology. So, yes, this is the evolved Iran Contra pipeline, the Jeffrey Epstein all the way to Brazil, John of God, um, which I hate to use that because it sounds like some kind of nice religious person, but it's not. He's serving over 600 years for his crimes against women and children. Um, Down in Brazil with his farms, right? Uh, but this is this pipeline, clearly, that Oprah was trying to promote. Well, she wasn't trying, she was promoting it. And her direct ties to Obama, to the Obamas, okay? And Beto O'Rourke. And Beto O'Rourke, Veronica Escobar, this Pan party is very connected to that. And of course, Alejandro de la Vega, the El Paso cartel operative, double agent on both sides that can facilitate um, this tower, 20-story tower, um, being like the crown jewel for this $1.27 billion surveillance network all over Mexico. So they were really, if it wasn't for President Trump winning, I think that they would have Mexico. I think they would. And they would just about have the United States. It was just that close. So now, with it being revealed, and thank you for making it more transparent by sharing this information and even explaining it better than I can. Talking about it to people, explaining it better than I can. And if you speak Spanish, God bless you. Speak it in Spanish, explain it in Spanish, because this was a regime change by infiltration. By infiltration with a cover of the sovereignties of the countries to keep the people in check, to exploit them, of course, but for the cartel leaders, for them to not have any obligation to the countries or the laws of the country, and to control it so that they can control the cases, the law enforcement, the investigations, so that they would not have any fear that they could traffic and do all of their criminal activity without being held accountable. With all of it being, so it was all like, it's kind of like Connell Wetton. He's absolutely an impersonator too, right? He's a fake, he's a fraud, but he really is an assistant, a special agent in charge in the El Paso FBI field office, along with FBI employee Michael Mayella, the Crucius family, who's directly connected to the end of the pipeline, the John of God serving 600 years for his crimes against children and women. Um, yeah, you can't make this stuff up. It's there right in front of our face, the evidence. The evidence is right there. And Connell Wetton being in there, but having no, saying the oath, but not meaning any of it, and having direct connection to the Mormon faction colonies there in Chihuahua, Mexico, but yet being an agent right there on the border, right there in the agency that is supposed to be investigating the cartel crimes, and having none of it. Just the perception, pretending to be it, but being the exact opposite, being the criminal that he is, and leaking our son's identity and other whistleblowers to the cartel, being directly responsible for the deaths of these CIA agents, these young men. They were young men, and the AEI agents of Mexico. So you have Maru Campos, you have Alejandro de la Vega, which double agent galore. Then you have Connell Wetton, and there's so many more. And now you have Lilly Téllez, right? Going to California to the Lincoln Club, targeting the Lincoln Club is President Trump's supporters. So she's targeting President Trump's supporters, trying to charm them with her deception, trying to project all the crimes of her pan party Maru Campos, governor of Chihuahua, the mess of it, the treason of it, and trying to project it all on President Sheinbaum to throw a monkey wrench, to obstruct diplomatic sabotage, diplomatic communications between Sheinbaum and President Trump. And that's why we find this really important, because she's interfering in our son's case. And she's obstructing justice in our son's case. So even after 6 years, we're still dealing with saboteurs, with deceivers, with impersonators. Because if they don't have any intention to respect the sovereignty of Mexico and its laws, which she took an oath to be a senator of Mexico, then why is she going on a tourist visa to Orange County, California, to target President Trump's followers into bad information that was sabotage? Because we are a government of the people, by the people, for the people. This is what makes it so bad. She's delivering false information, a saboteur's information, into the ears of President Trump's supporters against President Sheinbaum, who's duly elected. I think it really is a crime, and I think we're right. We've been right all along. We've been right all along. So let me read some of the. Every day. Can you imagine? Yesterday was all about Michael Mayella being in the FBI. Can you believe that? Patrick Crucius's family is working at the FBI, and really he is impersonating an FBI agent. Truly, How do you wear the insignia of the FBI and not be an FBI agent? It's really like Nadal Bayim. I mean, the cashier, when I first talked to her, which was less than an hour after Nadal Bayim entered the Dollar General store, she absolutely believed that he was FBI. And then we're like, really? When we were kind of talking about it, we're like, yeah, that was no, I don't think so. But, he was impersonating an FBI agent. And Michael Mayella is too. Right now, even right now. Oh, wow. Um, Meaning, in the year 2026. Okay, I want to cover myself. Okay, Laura, thank you so much for coming on. Um, yes, President Trump is has ordered a full review of 53 embassies, Mexican embassies, consulates in the United States on American soil, not in Mexico. There's just a lot of um, fear, a lot of fear. Um, and, rightfully so, because, President Trump doesn't mess around. He doesn't mess around, y'all. And to order the review of 53 embassies is, indicates that he is very serious. He's very serious about ending this cartel control. Very serious. And, so of course, because the two cartels, the two main cartel, well, the big main cartel is the El Paso cartel, right? And in alliance with this El Chapo's arm of the Sinaloa cartel, in alliance with CJNG, which they're after, like, oh, they're really after them because they're flesh peddlers, and they are the really violent ones, right? And the Juarez cartel, which is like the media, right? The media coverage, and then others, but um, so they're in alliance together. So President Trump and President Sheinbaum have to work together to do this. And I think that President Trump has showed great restraint. And I think President Sheinbaum is very serious about what happened right now in Chihuahua. So it's really positive. So let the diplomacy work between the two so that Mexico can have its sovereignty back. And it is sensitive because a lot of the cartel owns so much. They own so many hotels and so many businesses, and, you know, so you have to, gosh, uh, I can't even imagine the strategy to, it's like a fine surgery, right? They want to take out the cancer, but they don't want to hurt the body, the vital organs. And so they have to carefully extract, and yeah, they have to work together, both President Trump and President Sheinbaum. So look into the hospitals. Oh, yes. Uh, I know that Governor Abbott um, made a deal. That was one of the deals that he made with, he signed that these doctors could come into Texas. So that is being looked at. I'm sure that's being looked at. But yeah, thank you so much for that pointer. Um, and of course, this has to do with organ harvesting. So the more that this Iran Contra pipeline evolves, and it involves, of course, the money laundering, right? The money laundering and the embezzlements and on and on. As it evolves and added to it, like organ trafficking and the child trafficking and all of that, then new problems arise. So it's just one crime, growing on top of another crime, you know, needed to cover for their exploitation and criminal activity, and I would even say sacrilege, right? Because of what they're doing in the funeral fraud. So, but all of that is we're not just talking about it. We are absolutely writing loads of letters, y'all, and we're filing them. And so we have filed a lot, filed. And that's why your sharing is so important, because with your sharing, with the population knowing that we are filing, and you can file too, right? You can file too, open records and also criminal complaints, where if you run into that, right, you should absolutely file. Even with a corrupt agency, you need to file, and keep going, because they just can't, no matter how wealthy they are, right? And somebody said, "Oh, they're just so happy because they're so wealthy." No, they're not. I can tell you this right now. It's never enough for them, and they are miserable. They are miserable people. They are miserable. I don't care how wealthy they are. They're just so miserable. And so, and I don't want to go into it, but there's plenty of evidence that would back me up. Uh, and, they're they just, I don't know, they just don't have love in them. And I know that sounds so silly, but they don't love God. They don't love fellow man. They're just rotten. They're just rotten. And they just want everybody to be miserable and rotten. And, even when they build something, it's weird. It's very weird, their architecture and everything. Um, yeah, it's not beautiful. It's weird. So, and they want to surveil everyone because, they want to make sure that you're not whistleblowing on them. And that also gives them a lot of information. And, like I said, so uh, thank you so much. The more that the people share, the more power that our filings have. Okay. That's the point I wanted to make. Um, the more that is shared, the more people that know about this, the more power that our documents that we have filed, criminal complaints that we have filed, everything, then that will have a lot more weight and power to it. So thank you so much for doing that for us. And we're working really hard, and we'll, happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to everyone that's a mother, because it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, and praise God for mothers. And so I just want everyone to have a great day. Treat yourself to some beautiful flowers and, your favorite restaurant or whatever. Um, and I will be back tomorrow. God bless you all. God willing. Bye bye.